But if we're going to call this mindset anything, let's call it the art of stick-to-itiveness. Okay. And that should be pretty straightforward for what it means. But I can't tell you how many times. So let's just rewind the industry that we are in, this internet marketing industry, since the dawn of it, however long back that goes. I studied under the very first ever internet marketer, a guy by the name of Corey Rudel out of Vancouver, Canada. He was the first person to understand, hey, I can write an ebook, sell it on the internet, and then I'm going to teach other people how to do that. And I think back then it's called like Internet Marketing Revealed, first ever course ever created on internet marketing. Unfortunately, he died in a race car accident in his very young age. But he was the father of all this stuff, and that's who I studied from. But the problem has been since the beginning of the dawn of internet marketing that there's this perpetual sentiment that goes out into the world that says marketing and entrepreneurship, and particularly marketing and entrepreneurship online, is easy, right? Now, I don't know who came up with this idea, but it's the bros in front of the Lambos saying, look, mom, here in my garage, I read 1,000 books and now I'm a multi-gazillionaire. And look, I love Tai Lopez. I think he did some amazing, amazing things, but like it also brought on this advent of the aspirational entrepreneur, right? Not the entrepreneur, but the wantrepreneur or the aspirational entrepreneur that says, hey, if I just have a YouTube channel, or if I read a couple of books, or I follow a couple of mindset things, or I do whatever, then I'm going to be successful. And then what perpetuated from that was a whole bunch of case studies that flooded the internet to talk about Joe Schmo, who was nobody 2 years ago, and now he's got this 8-figure business. And look, there's a lot of truth to that, but we've got to understand the statistics in the entrepreneurial world is that what is like 1 in 10 make it past first 5 years and 1 in 5 make it past that. And even then it's like repeated failure after failure before you strike the success chord. And now I know I'm talking to people in the room who've passed all that, but I don't want to negate the fact that I hear, especially this past like 2 weeks, from people all over the place, both in our program and outside the program. It's just like, oh, well, like marketing is like hard and I kind of want to give up and maybe like, and then when I say, if that's your attitude, go get a day job then and drop the whole thing, then they get mad at me and they're like, well, you're supposed to encourage me and give me motivation and whatever. So with all that framework laid out, I'm going to, again, sounding like a little bit like a broken record, but I want to emphasize the art of stick-to-itiveness, this reality that we got to know that what we're going into when we're starting to market on the internet and making our business work and all that other fancy and fun stuff, that every odd is against us, just straight out right from the beginning, right? So, I forgot who wrote the book, the Art of War. I mean, it is a battle. Every statistic is up against us, and we have to fight through that. That's just on the entrepreneurial level, right? Now, you couple that with the fact that we live in the year that we live in, where bro marketing is kind of the standard, where influencers are kind of the standard. And now we're living in a place where everything is extra noisy, extra loud, extra competitive, extra whatever, extra all of this. And as a result of that now, marketing has become exponentially more difficult, and the rate of failure is exponentially higher. So like laying that as a groundwork, the second thing I just want to share off the cuff then is whatever you choose to stick with, whether it's fast track or not, let's say the fast track because you're in this program, but whatever you choose to stick with it until you get your desired results. Okay. It's a situation where it's never, does it work or does it not? It's always a situation of how can I do the tweaks I need to do to make it get the results that I'm looking for? Does it always work out of the gate? Absolutely not. Some people hit a home run and the rest of our group gets mad at them because they're like, Jesus, I've been working so hard for the last 4 months and you fucking put up an ad and in 3 days make 10 sales. And now you're like, everyone looks at them and they're like, golly, as they're the standard by which we should all achieve to be. And although it's cool, and I love the people getting quick wins, and I love quick wins, like even in my business in the grind, I'll give you a great example. Last week, we're averaging 5 to 6 calls a day on our calendar. Everything is good. Everything is working. It's flowing. This week, starting the beginning of this, we're down to 1 to 2 calls a week. And that massively shifts everything. If we're going from 5 to 6 calls a week to 1 to 2 calls, sorry, 5 to 6 calls a day to 1 to 2 calls a day, that's a concern. So I share that as part of this underlying idea of like, even when I got it all together and I've been doing this forever and I'm the expert and whatever, every week we're iterating. Every week we're working through the situations. Every week we're working through. One week we got a 70% show up rate. The next week we got a 70% no show rate. And you're like, golly, I'm spending all this time, money, and energy. So first and foremost, if we can all agree to know that when we're doing this, and whether you do this or whatever else, please know, and I know I'm preaching to the choir because you show up every week, but please know that we're in a battle and the battle doesn't end. There isn't a time where we just hit that point where we're like, oh, I can breathe easy now. That never comes. Okay. It's a battle every day. It's like having children, you know, even when you think they're at that age where you don't have to deal with them anymore, no, you still got to deal with them. And then they grow up and they move out and you're like, oh, good. And then they're like, no, Dad, I want to get married. I want you to pay for my wedding. You're like, oh God. Okay. Like, so it's just this thing that we've got to just be okay with. Number one. Number two, understand that marketing, the only difference between success and failure in marketing is giving up or keep going. That's it. It's giving up or keep going. If you give up, failure. If you keep going, success at some point by iterating and reiterating and reiterating and reiterating. Okay. So I feel like I can ramble on that for a long time. I won't. I'll stop now. But a couple of things that I want to just let people think about before we get into questions then is, if you are in a situation where things are not working, I want to make this practical as much as mindset as possible. 3 things to look out for. The 3 most important things. And it's not how you have your ad set up, and it's not, you know, the little nitty-gritties of your offer and should I offer a payment plan or not. None of that matters on the higher level of things. If things are not dialed in and going the way that it should, 3 things to look at. The first thing is, like, who is my market? But more specifically, what is my TAM? My total accessible market. Okay. And there's research and we can get into like how you can do that. But sometimes we as entrepreneurs have this idea and we come to the marketplace with our idea and we expect the market to fit into our solution, when sometimes there's just not a market size that can handle, or that it's big enough for us to like push through things the way we want at the scale that we want. Now, for the vast majority of everybody here, I don't think that's an issue, because we've seen people with very weird little niche markets that sell absolutely weird, incredible things do very well. So I'm going to assume that for the most part, that part is taken care of. Then the second thing that we always have to ask if things are not working is, does my market actually want what I offer? Okay. And that's a key one. Because if something is not working, it's generally not that the marketing sucks. It's generally not that, you know, all the pieces are not falling into place. It's a mismatch between what our market says they want and what we're offering them, which goes back a little bit to that original point of we have a solution and then we try to tell the market, you want my solution, rather than going to the market and saying, what do you actually want, knowing intimately what they want. And then as a result of what they want, providing them a version of our solution that seems to meet the bill for what they're looking for. Okay. So the question that we have to ask is, do we really know what our market wants? And is what we are providing for them a solution to a problem that they say that they have? And the easiest way to actually know that is, are there other people selling similar solutions to your marketplace successfully? I mean, there's a bunch of other ways you could do that, of course, and we don't have to get too deep into it. But ultimately, that's like the starting point is, are there other people selling my solutions? Because sometimes we think, hey, if I'm the only person selling my solution, then I win, right? I've got no competition. The only reason but the reality is, if you're the only person selling that solution, then there's a reason why no one else has done it successfully, right? So that's a thing we just have to be very confirmed with. And then the third part about that, then, as we kind of bring, so is there a total accessible market? Does the total accessible market, are they looking for a solution that I'm providing? And then thirdly, as we tie a bow to the whole thing, is does my message, is it specific enough to address those problems that are being indicated by my total accessible market? Because oftentimes it's simple messaging that changes everything. I'll give you a specific example of that. Back in the day when I was trying to figure out how do I position, like, I was like, should I position my offer as how to run Facebook ads better? Is it how to do this better? Is it lead generation? Like, what is it? And I was racking my brain trying to come up with terms myself until I was at a mastermind and we went around in a little group circle and basically asked everybody, what is the greatest you need? What is the greatest need you have in your current business right now? And I think 99% of the people basically said, in their words, qualified lead generation. Now, keep in mind, prior to that, I was using all sorts of terms. I was using how to get better sales calls, how to get this, how to, like all sorts of languaging that I thought the market was using. But then when I just simply looked at my market and see what was the question, what were the words that they were using, it was qualified lead generation. I said, well, let's just call it what they want. I changed my wording and my messaging to adapt to that problem that was being solved. And as a result of that, everything obviously started to pick up. So it's important for us to be very clear about what it is that our prospects actually want and make sure that the messaging we use solves that issue. I'll give you one other example of someone in our Fast Track program who I was having a call with yesterday. They serve real estate agents. And their messaging was an aspirational how to become top 1%, how to become a top 1% real estate agent. Now, good languaging and fine, it's aspirational or whatever. But I don't know, and I don't know the space very well, but I just didn't know if someone like woke up in the morning as a real estate agent saying, I aspire to be a top 1% agent. What they probably say, though, is I sure as hell want a predictable way to generate 2 or 3 more leads this week, or whatever the language is. And so this generic messaging was being put out in their marketing. And as a result, they weren't getting any people to apply for their thing. And so we're reworking the messaging to be specific to the problem that real estate agents have, how they could solve that problem for that specific real estate agent. And that's obviously in turn going to get us better results. So summarize the whole thing and then we'll get into questions. First, understand the art and power of stick-to-itiveness in all that we're doing, deciding that success is only based on never giving up. Failure is based on simply giving up. Once you've done that, then if things are not working exactly the way that you hoped and anticipated, the 3 biggest key levers to start with before you dialing into anything else is 1, the total accessible market, the TAM, which I think everyone's fine here with. Number 2 is, are we actually addressing a problem that they have? Or are we completely unaware of a problem and trying to force our problem into them? And thirdly, if we know we're addressing a problem, then is our messaging aligned with attracting our best type of prospects, speaking to their specific needs? So it's an easy yes for them to say, by golly, I need that. Right? I'll give you one final example actually of an ad that I saw the other day that I thought was very interesting. Actually, let me see if I can even pull it up here. I don't know if I can. Okay, so let me see if I can do a quick screen share of this, just because I love it. I saw this ad and I screen shared it, and I thought it was fascinating. And again, it addresses a very specific point. Like this woman, Lindsay Maloney or whatever, cheers to being booked out. I thought the only way to book clients was to have a conversation on Zoom until I did this. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Because the common belief system right now of anyone doing sales calls is, well, I need to do a Zoom sales call with them, of course. And this person is saying, well, no, you don't. And so it is addressing a specific pain. The specific pain is I'm doing Zoom calls and I hate them. Is there a better way to sell my service? She's addressing that specific pain. And as a result of addressing that specific pain, she's going to get a lot of people inquiring about her services. Now, whether it's a good service, whether it's a good fit, is besides the point. The point is she's very clear on the problem that her market is trying to solve. Can I sell my high ticket thing without a Zoom call? And as a result, puts out messaging that says, yes, you can. And let me show you how. So if you're ever stuck in the marketing process and you're wondering, well, why am I stuck? Why can't I make any progress? What's going on? Sometimes we just need to evaluate those three things, make some tweaks to those three things, the TAM, the problem, and the messaging to solve that problem. And then we'll generally find ourselves better off moving forward in getting some results.